Hey guys, let's talk about functions a bit. So, think of functions as an action or as something you want to repeat or you reuse or you know it's going to be there once a blue moon and you just want to keep calling it rather than writing the 10, 20 actions you need to do that. Think of, for example, if you have a few people and you have one guy that. Oh, actually, let's talk about the construction crew. So you got the construction crew. There's the one guy, before we start construction, he needs to go put cones. So you write your code for putting the cones down in a line on the highway. Then the next guy needs to come and check the terrain, make sure everything's okay, make sure the requirements and so forth, so on, whatever. That's the next. And then the next step is to bring all the materials, bring all the inventory required. That's step three, right? And then the step four is, hey, get all the construction crew there, use all the inventory and whatnot, and build us a road or fix the road or something. And now let's say you go somewhere else, you have to do that process again. Okay. So now the whole point of a function comes in, at least for this type of situation, is, hey, I know I'm going to repeat all this process. Let's just do it in this thing where I call it and it does it for me. So let's say now we're on the new highway and we need to do the same thing. I would say, hey, construction crew, get your shit together. And they would go there and do their shit, well, do whatever they need to make it happen, right? It's the same process. There's nothing really different. Now, if you think about it inside code, think of like stuff you need to repeat for at least for now. We're going to get more into it later. But let's say, hey, I have 30 students. I need to go to every one of my students, figure out his name, figure out his ID, figure out all his information, put it inside my database. Then I go to my next student, do the same repetition. Well, do I really want to do 100,000 lines of, one printing to the screen, one getting the input, and so forth, so on. So there's a lot of output inputs that's being repeated. So the whole point of me saying this is create a function that does that specific scenario, that specific action, that specific verb, right? And just call it X amount of times. That's the whole point of a function. You call it, the function runs, does its thing, and comes back to where you were in the code. All right? So let's check out the code here. So we have a project already created, and we're all inside the main. I'll make some other videos going back over all these little functionalities, well, all over these other codes that's there. For now, let's just concentrate on functions, okay? So this time, I'm going to write my name in big letters, right? We'll need to display on the screen res, but in gigantic letters, not just one letter per line, but like a huge multiple line of R's would make one R type of thing. Alright, so if you look at the screen, I'm starting at least, spacing it out and drawing a R. Okay? So just give me a second, it wouldn't be too long. And as you notice, this is already like 4 or 5 lines, and as we're going, it's gonna get longer and longer. Eventually, what the goal would be is to make this into something that when I need an R, I just write one line rather than drawing it out again, making sure that it lines up, making sure that it looks great, and so forth and so on. Okay, but we'll get there. So let's just keep on doing this. Might skip a bit of me writing this, but we'll see how it goes. That's gonna be in the post editing, So I made a mistake, by the way, when I was recording this. Well, over here we just need to, not let the program exit. If you don't remember why, go back to the previous and figure, well, I'll make new videos on those. Anyway, so another mistake I made here was that I made it capture the specific screen that you see Visual Studio, so it's not really seeing the console application. And as I previously recorded this and now I'm just adding voice over it, and then the next time blah blah, I'm gonna edit this maybe another time, but for now it's fine. So just keep going. Just if you need to, run the code yourself, write it step by step, run it, see how it goes, see what's saying. Currently we wrote R and it should have displayed in the big screen R on the console. Okay, Just look at what's on the right lines, right? Every right line is a specific line in itself. Anyway, so now we're going to add the E. So it's again another gigantic letter, and after that we're going to add the Z. Okay, I might just skip a bit. And let's not forget, we need to also have a space between every letter, otherwise you will be stuck to each other. So all I need to do for one empty line is to write a console.writeLine without anything, right? Alright, so I'm almost done with my Z. I forgot to put the bottom line of my Z. Let's put that in. And now we have our Z. Okay, so again, I forgot to capture the console, but it's okay for now. This is a quick video to just get you guys moving because you guys are stuck. Eventually, I'll make a stream of videos nonstop. For now, let's just stick to this. Okay, so now I see R, I see E, I see Z. And here's our main function, right? But what I want to do is make it into a specific function for each letter. So when I need R, I just need to call that function, which is going to be a one-liner, and I could do it. So if I wanted to write a whole sentence, I wouldn't need to write 100,000 lines of me repeating letters or copy-pasting one after the next. I could just call these functions. Now, as you look over here, we're at like the static void part, okay? Forget about the static for now. Like I said, we'll get back to it eventually. But basically, it's just static, it just means it's there, okay? Then we got the void and the draw R. Again, we're going to come back to the void part later. You should know it by now, but we're going to come back to it later. What we're focusing right now is the draw R. The same way as the main, it has to be a specific name. You can't have multiple other ones having the same name. Okay? We just need to remember what exactly the name is and open the parentheses for parameters. Later on, we'll get back to it. And open the curly braces where we're going to put in the code. Okay, if you notice, everything has curly braces saying this is part of me, this belongs to me. And in this case, we're going to do the same thing for draw R. So I just paste my code back into there, and just the console, just the part that's the drawing the R, right? Nothing else. It does what it says. That's the key point here. My function is specific. This is great because if you put, well, this is great because if you ever get confused or if you see some error somewhere, you know where to specifically look like. If you put everything in main, you have to go through the whole main function to figure out, hey, there's an error somewhere. And then from there, figure out. Well, you're going to say, well, if there's an error, obviously the IDE or the Visual Studio or whatever you're using is going to give me the line exactly with the error. Yes, that is true, but if it's a logic error, where are you going to figure it out? If it's an error not about the program or about the code, but about the logic you put in there, hey, should the door be open before I cross through it, you know, type of thing, that you won't see it. Well, the code won't see it. You'll have to go check yourself, see step by step, right? So you kind of want to make these really specific, really readable, because in the end, it's going to be you who's going to come back to the code, read it again, do something with it, and so on. So again, let's do that. We did the R, let's do the E. We're going to create a new function for the E. Static void draw E, etc., etc. Open the curly braces, anyway. And just paste it back in there. Notice I didn't put the blank lines in there because it doesn't really belong to the draws, right? I might one day want to do something with the draw of the letters without having any blank lines. Then I need to go modify my code again, which is not too smart, right? So for a one-liner space, it doesn't really matter to add it or not. Well, I would say don't add it because it makes it more flexible eventually. Anyway, and let's add the Z. Now we got our big parts, our big chunks in there. We have the R, E, Z currently, and eventually you guys might have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, so forth. But functionality also comes in another layer, and that layer is making your code a bit more readable. So in this case, it's pretty straightforward in C#, where literally you're saying it inside of a sentence, right? Console dot write line. So the console, hey, write me this. Or you're saying, hey, from the console, read me this. Or from the console, clear me the screen, and so forth, so on. But if you really wanted to, and not even put in the console because it's so obvious we're in the console always, and you wanted to make it a bit more flexible or more clean, what we could do is grab those console.write lines and put it in a function that just says what it does, right? So we could just come and grab this, put it inside another static void, and this time we're going to name it something specific. In that case would be to draw a space, right? So in the case of drawing a space, all I'm doing is putting a empty line of nothingness, right? You might want to have multiple lines, that's up to you. But by doing this, when I read my main code, okay, I would see draw R, draw space, draw E, draw space, draw Z, draw space, right? It makes a bit more sense. And by the way, if you guys haven't noticed yet, you're already using functions, right? There's someone that does this whole write line function for you. There's someone that does the read key function for you, and so forth, so on. Okay? So again, we're not going to go through that too much. And I forgot to, again, copy the console into the video. So for now, it's fine. I'll obviously redo all of this a bit more organized. But for now, you should have it all, right? So we're drawing all three letters with spaces in between them. And if I wanted to, I could redraw R by keep calling it. The same way I'm calling draw space 3 times, right? It doesn't matter. It goes to the code. Does the code goes back to our main? Does the code goes back to our main? Does the code goes back to our main? This is the amazing part of it, right? So in this case, I drew use Z 3 times. Perfect. Okay. Anyway, so as an example, I would say before we go on and figure out the return types and all the other stuff from the next video, you kind of draw all the other letters. If anything, I'm probably going to make you do it as an assignment for next week. We'll see how it goes. Alright, cheers guys.